It's your smell. What the bird is barbecuing.
G'day fans of the MPL, it is the Verd here, back with you again. Welcome here to our Week 3 match against Greg, or its Regulator, coach of the Los Angeles Clefable. We're both 2-0 right now, so this is a battle to see who can stay the only undefeated side right now in the Major PL. So pretty exciting. It is on Showdown. Basically, we both had built our teams. Greg was able to gen his own team, I couldn't find a genner, and then we disagreed. Hey, why don't we just play it on Showdown? We're pretty hyped to do this battle, so we jumped into it. For Greg and I, we are in other leagues that are a little bit more competitive than this, so we didn't take this one as seriously. So as you can see, there's a rufflet on Greg's team, and my team may seem pretty scary, but it's not as bad as it seems. So I'll kind of explain like the team that I'm bringing, then the battle itself. But I've got a Scarf Drill again for the third week in a row. It's just, it matched up really well again, guys. He had a Mega Arrow, a Kieran Black, a Greninja, a Thunderous Incarnate, just so many mons where the Drill would need the Scarf to outspeed them. I have Mold Breaker, so I can just go for EQ in this matchup, potentially to hit the Uxie for extra damage. Pretty straightforward set though. The Hooper is Trick Room with Psyche MZ. Basically, I was really tossing up on this Hooper set initially. It was a physical set, then I decided to go special with the Psyche MZ. Basically, that meant that if Comfey tried to come in and go for a Calm Mind or something stupid, then I can just go straight for the Z move. Under Trick Room, I can run through a lot of his team. I don't really have a way of dealing with Sizzle with the Hooper, but Dark Pulse still does a massive chunk and weakens it to the point where I can kill it with other mons if need be. The Manaphy kind of tossed and turned around a bit too. I decided to go with a Wakamberry Tail Glow set with a Scald, Ice Beam, and Dazzling Gleam. The Gleam was mainly just there because it hit Hariyama, Greninja, and Kieran Black all at the same time. Pretty straightforward set though. Scolipede was SD Protect to attack with the speed boost. I didn't forget it. It has Aqua Tail and Mega Horn. It's just the best coverage for his team. Aqua Tail was the best move to damage things like Aerodactyl, Nidoking. Still does good chunks to Sizzle and Rufflet. Charizard was a bulky DD set. Actually has enough physical defense to where an Adamant Mega Aerodactyl Stone Edge will not be able to kill me, so I can go for DD late game, potentially sweep there. Just going to be careful of Sizzle's Bullet Punch. But I'm running a Dragon Dance, Roost with Fire Punch and Dragon Claw. Pretty straightforward set, but a really solid one in this matchup. And then finally we have a Pain Split, Calm Mind, Kofagrigus with Shadow Ball, and I'm actually running the secret weapon this week of Shockwave. Basically because his two best switch-ins to Shadow Ball, being Greninja and Rufflet, both get blown away by Shockwave, and I have the Cobbleberry for a Specs Dark Pulse Greninja. So that's basically it. He didn't bring Kieran Black, Nidoking, I can't remember, I think it was Nidoking, not Nidoqueen. Yeah, he didn't bring Kieran Black, Nidoking, or what's it called? Or Thunderous Incarnate, which was really surprising. I kind of expected a few of those over maybe the Hariyama, the Rufflet. I mean, I think he was just bringing memes this week, and I know that Kyle did build his team, but whatever, we're going to get into the game. So I basically choose to leave the Drill because I knew it would pressure as much of his team as possible from the get-go. If you led Arrow, then it pressured it. If you led Rufflet, that was the main thing I was worried about, is that Rufflet kind of does potentially dunk on this team a little bit, so I've got to be careful of that. But I lead Drill. I don't want to risk getting super powered here. I'm pretty sure he's going to switch out, but what I choose to do is go into my my Zard just goes out into Uxie. I was worried about the T-Wave here, but I didn't really care. I just wanted to go for the Fire Punch. I get a cheap burn. It means the Foul Play was going to do 20, but instead now it's done 10. Didn't really matter too much in the course of this game about that burn. But now that my Zard is Mega Evolved, it's really good because now when rocks go up, I'll take less from it. I'm going to take this opportunity to kind of take advantage of this weakened Uxie since it is now burned. I'm going to go hard into my Manaphy as he's going to go for his rocks, and this is a pretty good opportunity for me to just go for my Tail Glow. As far as I can see, he doesn't have a switch into Manaphy, so he is just going to U-turn. I figure he's either going to go to his Greninja or his Hariyama. He goes into Hariyama, so I was kind of expecting this to be a Soul Vest, but I knew that Dazzling Gleam at +3 was doing a shit ton, and it wasn't a Soul Vest. It was able to knock out the Hariyama, which is pretty great. He had a Piappa Berry. Now he goes for Dark Pulse there as I get off the Gleam and kill him. Now this is a massive turn in the game because he decided to go into his Greninja to attack me to try and weaken the Manaphy. Now he could have gone into something else, like potentially he could have gone into his Aerodactyl or even the Sizzle, or try to go for U-turn or something, to try and weaken the Manaphy and put it in range of dying to Greninja's Specs Dark Pulse. But he decided to risk the, I believe it's a 20% flinch chance that he had with Dark Pulse, which is fair enough. Like, if you have to do it in that situation, then I kind of understand you doing it. But it worked out for me. I was able to tank the hit, go for the Dazzling Gleam, we knock out Greninja. And this is massive because, as you can see from his team, the way that it's looking right now, there's definitely a big opportunity for Charizard to sweep. All we gotta do is get some damage off on Aerodactyl. That's really the only thing left to do, because Uxie's burned now, can't really stop me. Rufflet might be able to 1v1 if it's bulk up, but at the same time I have DD plus just the raw power of Charizard should break through that, and Sizzle is a Sizzle. So I decided to sack off my my Manaphy, because I figured he'd go for EQ this turn, and I could have gone hard out to Kofag, but if he went for Stone Edge, it was just such a bad play. Now I make a bit of a misplay here. On this turn, I choose to go for Calm Mind. Reason being was because I actually expected him to go hard out to something like Rufflet or Uxie, predicting the Will-O-Wisp, but obviously there's no real need for Greg to do that, because if I Willow here and he goes for Hone Claws, he can Hone Claws next turn, go back to neutral, still be solid, so that's fair enough. I was contemplating going for the Shockwave here because it did slightly more, but I didn't want to reveal it just yet. I wanted to go for the Shadow Ball, see what kind of Aerodactyl spread he was, if the Stone Edge could Twit me, and if it couldn't, then the combination of Shadow Ball plus Shockwave does knock out Aero, so that I could go for that and catch the potential Rufflet coming in. But as you can see, he is a very offensive Aerodactyl, so he's going to be able to knock us out, but I risk it here, seeing if the Stone Edge will connect for a second time. It does, and he gets a crit. Crit obviously didn't matter. I go back into my drill on this turn. I have no reason not to click Iron Head. Like, even if Sizzle comes in, I have Zard ready to go Mega Evolve. So I just drop an Iron Head, does a good chunk to the Uxie, weakens that down a bit, as I choose now to double into my Scolipede, as he decides to go for the U-turn. Really smart play on his part, as he's able to go to his Rufflet. Now, at this point, I was thinking, like, okay, we're looking pretty strong. Scolipede can just go for Aqua Tail against Rufflet, and it should do a good chunk. Like, I don't really see any reason why I won't do a good chunk. So I go for the Aqua Tail as he goes for the sub, and I'm like, okay, he's at half, this is okay, we can manage this, but my Aqua Tail only needed 30.5%. Now, granted, I am adamant max attack, so I was a little bit worried about this. And so he's now bulked up, and I'm a little bit worried here, guys, because at this stage, Rufflet's looking like a pretty freaking massive threat. So I decided to SD on this turn, predicting him to go for the Roost, because now what I can do is go for my Aqua Tail, which will be stronger than the boost that he's got, and I do a huge chunk and force him to have to Aerial Ace to kill me. So Rufflet got a kill, which is terrifying. I go into my Hooper, and at this point of the game I had to think about my best way of winning, and my Hooper, because it's a Trick Room variant, will not outspeed this Rufflet. If it outsped the Rufflet, I could just go for the Psych MZ and knock this thing straight out and we'd be fine, but because I don't, I have to think of my two options. So I can either go for Trick Room on this turn, predicting him to go for Roost, because I have the bulk to live a hustle boosted hit here. So I had to choose between going for the Trick Room, predicting him to maybe want to attack me, and then I have a good position, or I go for the move. And the reason I go for the attacking move is because if I go for the Trick Room and he gets the damage off of me, I might be able to kill Rufflet, but then Sizzle can just come in and click Bullet Punch and kill me. So it was smarter for me just to go for the Z move. He roosts up, and this is a max HP, max Spadef EV at Rufflet, and a Shattered Psychic Hooper does not kill it. But I predict him to roost this turn, and I go for my Trick Room, because at this point I have to do kind of what Greg tried to do earlier and go for Dark Pulse. Now, there are 3 turns left of Trick Room at this point of the game, and 1 Dark Pulse has failed. Now, I have 3 more turns, or 3 more tries, I suppose, of Dark Pulse here on this thing. Now, granted, Greg had a 20% chance on his 1 chance, but since I'm doing this 4 times in a row, my hope was eventually I will flinch the Rufflet down, and luckily on this turn I do get the flinch. I think if I had flinched it on the next turn, it still would have been good, as he is now going to go sack off his Uxie. But he's in a really tricky spot, because if he's not U-turn on the Scizor, then he's in a bad spot. But I choose to go for the Dark Pulse again, because at this point of the game, if he allows his Scizor to take a modest Hooper's Dark Pulse, he potentially puts the Scizor in range of Rock Slide Excadrill, which at this point, being Scarfed, can just kill the rest of Greg's team. So he decides to try and play it safe, go out to his Rufflet, and now the game comes down to a bit of a 50-50, more or less. There was a few ways that I could kind of win this game, and I was looking at my best chance. So obviously what I could have done here is gone straight into Zard, but I was a little bit worried about that because if he was U-turn, then he just goes into aero, clicks EQ, and I lose him on, like, straight up. And if I go into Excadrill against this thing and it goes for U-turn, that's pretty good, but at the same time, like, he could just go for an SD against Hooper. So what I choose to do is go for Dark Pulse, because in this situation, if he U-turns with Scissor and outspeeds and kills my Hooper, that's fine. He goes into an aero that's weakened, I can go into Drill, and then I can pull a double into my Zard, because in that situation, with where Zard is, he can't risk his Aerodactyl ever dying, and all I need is one turn for my Zard to be in against Sizzle. I go for a DD, as he can go for whatever he wants. It won't be able to kill me because of how fucking bulky I am. I'm ridiculously bulky, and at +1 I can knock out the Aerodactyl with Dragon Claw, kill the Sizzle with Fire Punch. So that was my game plan, but what Greg actually tries to do is be super aggressive, and he goes into Aerodactyl, predicting me to want to go hard into my Zard. But like I said, my aim was actually to predict the Sizzle to U-turn there, which he didn't do, and it turns out he doesn't actually have it. He had the natural gift Electric from my Manaphy, which doesn't work out for him, and that's a huge chunk from Dark Pulse. I decided to preserve a bit of differential here and go into Zard, because I don't think he has Superpower, as Bullet Punch does nothing. And I could have lived the Superpower anyway, and then the Bullet Punch afterwards, because it was minus, so I do get a little bit lucky there, I guess, with the the Hooper flinch, but I think if you look at the course of the battle, it was going to be in my favor for it to happen eventually. It happened maybe a turn earlier than it should have, and that sucked for him because there was an extra turn of Trick Room to play around with. But at the same time, that's just something that happens, and I'm sorry for it. It's not I'm not proud of the fact that I got hacks that led to me potentially winning the game, but it's just that's the game we play, unfortunately, and you know, I got a little bit fortunate. But regardless, we do get the win. We now go to 3-0, the only unbeaten team right now with a +8 differential. Looking really strong to start the season. The team is just ticking along perfectly. The fact that I have Drill, Hooper, Manaphy, Scolipede, Zard, it's crazy, man. But I believe we're playing Carson in the Chicago Bewares next week, so that should be pretty exciting. But GG to Greg. He's a really cool guy, guys. Really cool guy, guys. Really? Did I go with that? Whatever. Go check out his channel. Very phenomenal player, and I think this league, because we both weren't trying as hard, we weren't really that fussed about the result, and we're both just going out there for fun, so it was good to have a nice, enjoyable game. But going so far so well in the Major PL, really enjoying it. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have, like this video, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. My name's The Bird. I'm out.